Artists, welcome to your Dreamcatchers painting class. In front of you, you should have your canvas. Also, be sure to have your half circle cut out. Also, a paper towel, a small brush, a larger brush. Grab a pencil, black paint, white paint, pink paint, purple, light blue, mustardy yellow, and green. And then a cup of water to clean your brushes out with. The first thing you are going to do is grab your two brushes and twirl them around in your cup of water, get them nice and clean. And then once you're done washing them, if you can go ahead and tap them dry onto your paper towel. So you have some nice clean tools to work with. Put my towel here for now. Go ahead and put your pencil and your cutout off to the side and grab your larger of the two brushes. We are going to start with our background first, and with our background we are going to use that light blue and our large brush. I want you to go ahead and dip that brush into your light blue, split your canvas in half side to side like so, and your canvas is laid out kind of like a piece of paper right now. After you're done splitting your canvas in half, go ahead and draw a line to the left and draw a line to the right to also split the sides. Once you are done, you can go ahead and dip your brush back into your paint and start at the bottom and work your way up with your big brush by sweeping side to side, which means I'm just going to go back and forth from one side to the next. And I'm going to fill up all the space, and I'm going to even kind of go over my line just a little bit so I don't have a perfect line. I'm just kind of sweeping, which means I'm kind of flicking my brush back and forth. If you're having a hard time moving your light blue paint, you can add water to your brush, tap it onto your paper towel several times, and then go over your paint to kind of smooth it out and get it moving a little bit better. In a moment, I'll also do the sides and the bottom part that are underneath that long line that I made. Nice long line, side to side, slowly filling up all that white space. Want to make some shorter ones, and I'll smooth it out. Again, go over that long line you made earlier so you don't see a perfect line. That water will definitely help your paint move. Once I have that pretty filled out to where I don't really see any more white spaces, then I can continue on to the sides and the bottom. Bottom part as well. I don't want to let the blue dry too much because I will be adding some white to it on the front of my canvas. So be sure you're kind of moving along and not taking too long on doing the sides. But the bottom half of my canvas is painted in this light blue color. And it doesn't have to be a solid. You can still see a little bit of the canvas peeking through. If you do want it darker, then you can go back and add another coat on top once it dries a little bit. But be sure it's not completely dry, because the next thing we're going to do is, without cleaning our brush, we'll dip it into the white paint. So again, I'll just be kind of going into this area side to side with blue and white on my brush, and then coming down and overlapping a little bit more in the center with some more white on my brush. So a little bit of white, big brush. I have not cleaned it, and I'm just gonna start in the middle, work my way up. Later on I can go back and add more white and even add more blue in my brush if I need to. But I definitely want to cover up this top half and then come down maybe even a little bit onto this blue, like a ruler's width. I will also paint the sides and the top part with the white on my brush. And again, if you wanted to use water on your brush and tap it onto the paper towel, that will definitely help move your paint a little bit easier. The water on your brush will also help the blue and the white work together a little bit easier as well. Against white paint, side to side. Cover up your canvas. Nice long brush strokes from one side to the next to really get it looking nice and smooth. If you have too many bumps with paint, just kind of go over it with your brush and smooth it out. If you do want to go in there and add more blue or white in certain areas, you can. But you should have a nice blue and white blend, and then kind of get a little bit lighter on top. So you can kind of mess with that or kind of tweak it a little bit if you need to. Once that's done, I am going to paint the sides as well. And of course, the very top of my canvas. I'll overlap over my blue just a little bit here too. So all the background will be painted before I lay anything on top. And before you do paint the Dreamcatcher on top, we are gonna use our pencil to outline that the circle shape and to draw the insides, to also draw the feathers. So we will be drawing in the second part of our class. Be sure you have a nice sharpened pencil. If you want to build over your color a little bit more, you can always give it some time to dry, maybe a couple minutes. You can build on top of it, because if you have a wet color and another wet color touches it, they'll just keep moving and blending or kind of working together. All right. I think I do want to add a little bit more dark blue to this. If you're still working on this after I am done, you're welcome to put pause on the video, or push pause on the video, and then continue on with the drawing step, which is next. And touch some stuff up that I might have missed. All right. So again, I would generally give this a couple minutes to dry. If you need yours to dry for a couple minutes where it's not so shiny, go ahead and pause the video. But whenever you are ready, you can go ahead and start drawing for the next step. I'm going to just kind of keep moving on, so my paint might be still a little bit too wet, but I definitely want you to see the next step and kind of keep our video moving. So our next step is going to be with that half circle, that semicircle that we have. You're going to line up the straight, kind of edge the straight part of your canvas. Do your best to kind of measure out the sides. Be sure it's pretty even on the sides. Lay it flat. Hold with one hand and outline with the other hand. And again, be sure your canvas is dry. I'm just kind of moving ahead of myself so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Perfect. And just remove it. Once you are done, you are going to make those really pretty, almost like flower petal shapes. One in the middle, one to the left, one to the right, and a half one and a half one on the sides, and they are going to overlap one another. The first one you are going to create is going to start in the middle, and it's going to come out on the left side a little bit, come out on the right side, and just kind of meet up with it. So I want to make sure you can see that okay. So it kind of has a leaf shape where it comes out and then back in. Perfect. Once you are done, you're going to make the one on the left. You're going to come out a little bit on the left here and make the left side. Sorry, I want to make sure you guys see this. A little bit of a curve this way. And then you are going to come in here, kind of where the point is, to where that you have that area that kind of overlaps. So I went where the point is, out, and just kind of joined back in this area. Sorry, I wanted to make sure my pencil's not in the way. And then the same thing to the other side. I'm gonna kind of join these two, so where that the point is at, I'm gonna come in a little bit. Sorry about that. And I come in, I come out a little bit, excuse me. So I'm kind of working on the outside a little bit, leaf shape. Hopefully you can see that okay. So out and back in, out and back in. We're gonna do two more. I'm gonna come up a little bit here and then dip down and come back up. It's kind of like that smiley face shape. Same on the other side. I'm gonna come in to this one a little bit. So not this line, but I'm gonna come in a little bit. I'm gonna dip down. Trying to make them look pretty even. Like so. So 1, 2, 3, half and a half. Perfect. The next step, and if you're still working on these shapes, you're welcome to pause it, but really find almost like petals that are overlapping one another. The next step is going to be our feathers, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to go ahead and start with the one on the left and kind of go in a clockwise motion. The one on the left is going to be close to this area right here, but a little bit more to the right. I'm going to make a line kind of dipping down, like so. A little bit of a curve, coming up, like so. And almost like a V, I'm going to, a little bit of a curve, like a line, like so. A little curving in, like so. And almost like a Christmas tree on this side where I come out going to come out again. So I kind of see that fun shape of boop, boop. See it a little bit better. Perfect. And I am going to come in there and make a line a little bit further to the right, not quite at this one yet. The line comes down, a little bit of a curve to it. Stops almost around this area right here, so a bit of a curve. And then I am gonna come out and down, almost like a slide. Come back in, a little bit more of a mini slide right there. Come up and in. Same idea on the right side, almost kind of like that Christmas tree feel again, a little bit of a curve on top. I'm gonna curve in, come down, I'm gonna curve in, like so. On the left side, I'm gonna come out and in and out. So it kind of has an S shape to it. And then I'm gonna kind of give it a curve this way for that second leaf. This is my feather. And we do leaves a lot too, so I have leaf on the mind. The third one, and if you're not done with these two, you're welcome to put pause on the video. The third one is a little bit further out from this one, a little bit before this big center petal shape. I'm gonna come down lower and a little bit to the right. It's about that far down. Same idea as this one. I'm gonna kind of come out a little bit. Think about that Christmas tree shape where I come out and then in, and then out, and then up and in. The right side, it's gonna come down a little bit lower with those two areas. So out, then in, and then out, and then in. And then I'm gonna come up and in, and kind of almost at that S shape again. I'm gonna connect the two, but coming out and in to meet these two. So that one right there. So cute. All right, so this one up here, same idea again with that kind of Christmas tree feel, or that where they kind of come out on the sides. This is gonna be between this one and this one, pretty much in the middle. It's gonna be a little bit of a shorter one, a little bit of a swing to the left. I'm gonna come out like so, and in like a Christmas tree. This one, like so. Same idea on the right side, maybe just a little bit lower. That S curve again. And then out, and then in, like so. Again, if you are still working on these feathers, you're welcome to put a pause on the video. I do have one more that's going to be a little bit higher up. It's not really on too long of a string at all. It just kind of comes down a little bit from the point of this one. I'm going to come down and again kind of come to a point, and there's 3 points. There's 1, 2, 3, all almost even, maybe kind of come in and out again. And on the right side, I'm going to kind of come out, and close to the lower one, I'm going to come out and in, like so. And I'm going to come out and in like an S curve. And then have these two meet with that curve on the right. A little bit prettier. Perfect. All right, so we have all of our lovely feather shapes in there. And again, if you're not done, you're welcome to put pause. Just be sure you have that basic idea of kind of like the outside of the feathers going out and then coming back in. The next thing we're gonna do is we are gonna paint each of our feathers, and you are welcome to use your large or your small brush. I'm gonna wash my large brush really quick because I forgot to wash it once I was done with my blue. So I'm gonna wash it. I love this part because you can kind of get kind of messy, kind of creative. I am gonna start with my small brush and my purple paint. And I'm also gonna have a little bit of white on my small brush, so it's purple and white. I'm gonna go over my pencil line so you don't see it anymore. So purple and white on my small brush at the same time. I'm just kind of going over it. That white should white it out pretty well. Your pencil line, you should white out your pencil line pretty well. And then you can go in there with a little bit of purple and white, kind of as you wish. And all you're doing is just slowly making sweeps coming down inside that shape. And if you want it to be darker, you can add more purple. If you want it to be lighter, I can add more white. But you just want to fill up that space. And later on, we'll go in there and add a little bit more detail. But you just want to kind of build that, the base for your feathers. If you want it, you can always kind of smooth it out with your big brush too. I feel like the colors in there are kind of looking kind of scratchy. You can cover it with a big brush. And then you can wash and dry both brushes. Once I'm done, I am going to paint that second feather all white. So be sure you have some really clean brushes. I think I'm just going to use my big brush. I think it's big enough to just outline and fill in with my big brush. But if you want to use your small brush at any time for this white feather, you're welcome to grab some white. And later on, I'll go in there and add some details. This white's going to help cover up that pencil line. Go in there and just kind of sweep some white in there. And if you want 2 coats of this white, if you feel like the blue, you can still see it a little bit too much, you can give it some time to dry and go back and give it a second coat. Perfect. So for mine, I'd probably go back and give mine a second coat after it dries. Once you're done with your white, if you want to wash and dry the brushes that you used, I think I'm going to stick with my, my big brush again on this one. Make sure it's washed and dried, but you can always jump to your smaller brushes for smaller areas. I'm going to do pink and white next, both on my brush at the same time. And I'm going to go over my pencil line. The white, again, helps that pencil line kind of disappear. Once I'm done outlining it with my big or my small brush, I can go in there and just kind of fill it in. You can go back to more white if you want more white in there. It's kind of sweeping down. I kind of like it when I see spurts of color like a dark pink in here. If If you want, you can even add little spurts of more white in some areas as well. There is our pink one. And then I'm going to go ahead and wash and dry the brushes that I've used. My next feather is going to be yellow. Do not worry about adding white to the next feather. You're just going to dip your big or your small brush, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. You're going to outline in yellow. Actually, I think I might add a little bit of white. I thought this yellow would be thick enough, but I think I am going to add a little bit of white to my yellow to kind of get rid of some of that pencil line. So if you're still seeing some of the pencil line, just add a little bit of yellow. Just add a little bit of white to kind of white it out. So yellow, maybe a tiny bit of white, not too much on there, and just kind of work my way down. Like so. And then my last feather is going to be that green. So it's a little bit of green and white. Probably put 2 coats on this one too, so you can kind of see the blue a little bit less. So again, if you still see a lot of blue, you can go back and give it another coat after it dries. So the next one, I'm going to wash and dry the brushes that I've used. A little bit of green, a little bit of white. You are going to outline over your pencil line. Use your small or your large brush. Put your pencil to the sides. Probably 2 coats of this green as well for a little bit better coverage. So kind of building the base coat to each one before we go in there and decorate it with some color. All right, so green and white. If you want it to be lighter, add more white. If you want it to be darker, add more green. All right. You can wash and dry. Once you're done, you're going to go into each feather and start kind of decorating with some sweeps of lines. We're just going to use our small brush, and again, if you can still see a lot of the blue behind these colors, go back and give them another coat once they're a little bit more dry. For my first one, I'm going to use the purple on its own and then some pink as well. So small brush, I'm going to go in there and just kind of sweep some lines around the shape to kind of get its shape back. So just small choppy kind of lines to get its shape back. And then also I'm going to create some lines inside of the shape. I'm going to kind of come down on the left side and then on the right side as well. Wipe off the purple. I don't have to wash it. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean, but I'll do the same kind of movements here and there with my pink. So I'll just kind of add some pink sweeps, so you don't want solid lines going around my shape. And then just kind of lines coming down on either side. Almost like upside down V's a little bit, but they don't connect in the middle. Once you're done, you can wash and dry. And I'll do kind of the same thing on this one. So if you were a little bit lost on this one, let me show you how to move on to the next feather with the same idea. I'm going to wash and dry my small brush. I'm going to dip into the yellow. I'm just going to follow the shape of this feather. Just sweeps just a little bit here and there. Then I'm going to make some of these kind of upside down V shapes, sweeping down. You don't even have to clean your brush, you can wipe it off. Go into the pink, so I'll be using yellow and pink, and just kind of following the shape. You don't have to wait for the colors to dry before you move on to the next one. Following the shape. Maybe doing some sweeps of upside down V shapes, like so. For the next one, the pink one, I am going to add some purple and some pink. So I'm going to wash and dry my small brush. Start out with some purple. Just kind of outline the shape a little bit. Sweeps here and there of the purple. Maybe adding some lines of purple here and there. Coming down. I'm going to mess with this one a little bit. Alright, and I'm just wiping off my brush, kind of doing the same idea with the pink. You can always go back and kind of add more or less here and there. If you want to, here is an idea, if you want to kind of smooth out some of your paint, you can also use your bigger brush to kind of smooth out some of the paint if you feel like it looks too rough. Kind of go in there and smooth it out. You do want a little bit of texture in there because it is a feather. But if you feel like there's too much bumps on there, just grab your big brush and kind of smooth it out. The next one is going to be our yellow feather, and I'm going to use some pink and white. So I washed and dried my small brush, went in there and just kind of swept some pink on it, or kind of get that shape back. Some lines coming down, some little sweeps coming down. Cleaned off my brush, went to the white. So I added pink and white on this feather. Again, if you feel like it's too bumpy, you can always smooth it out with your big brush. Just be sure it's nice and clean every time you switch feathers. All right, my next one is going to be my my green feather. I'm going to add some yellow, so I'll outline it in yellow, make some upside down kind of V shapes in yellow, and then I'll add some white. So yellow and white. Kind of following the shapes and making those sweeps of kind of like an upside down V. Like so. Perfect, and we will let those dry for just a moment. You can always go back and just kind of mess with it with colors if you wanted to add more a little bit here and there. So we wanted to add some white here. Don't add any black. We will add black later on to kind of define some areas. But if you wanted to go back and add some more of any of the other colors, you could. And again, if you wanted to smooth something out, just be sure your big brush is nice and clean. Just kind of go over that feather. I like adding white here and there to kind of show where light's hitting it. Perfect. All right. Next we are going to add some beads on our dream catcher. We are going to start with white, and you can, and our small brush. So our feathers are drying for a bit, so we'll add these anywhere we want. I kind of stuck to the number of 5 for each one, so I didn't do any black. So 5 whites, 5 pinks, 5 purples. I didn't do blue either because it was going to mix in too much with our background. Our yellow and our green. So I kind of stayed with these 5 right here. So 5 of these 5 colors, and I just used my small brush, and I just kind of found an area that I wanted my bead to be, and I pushed down on it. I have a little bit of a rectangular shape to it too, if you see that rectangular shape. So here's 1, there is 2, I'm just kind of pushing down on it. And I would probably go back and give it another coat after it dried too. So once you're done, if you feel like it doesn't look too clean, go back and give it another coat. There's 2, and you can put yours wherever you want it, just be sure it looks pretty random. There's 3, just pushing down on the side of my brush. 3, 4, 5. So there's 5, and again, I would go back and probably give everything a second coat. Once you're done, you can move to the Next color, you can choose any one that you want. I'm gonna go with pink. And again, I'm doing 5 beads. Just kind of pushing down. And be aware of wet colors, because if a wet color touches another wet color, it is going to mix or blend. So be sure you have a good idea where you want your beads to be. And again, I would go back and give those a second coat. I'm just going to keep moving along. Wash and dry, small brush. Let's go to my green. So I use everything besides my light blue and my black. Okay, I'm just kind of pushing up and down on my brush. So I got all my beads done. Again, if you wanted to go back, give them a second coat. If you are still working on your beads, you are welcome to put pause on the video. I am going to move on to adding black and white in our dream catcher. We're still going to be using our small brush. So once you're ready and you're done with your beads, wash and dry your small brush. We are going to go over the pencil lines that we still see here. And just remember, the harder you push with your small brush, the thicker the lines become. So if you're pushing so hard, it might bend over the little bristles, the little hairs. So be sure you're just on the tippy toes so you don't push too hard, too fast. And hold your small brush where the gold is so you have good control. I'm also going to make nice long lines so I don't make choppy short ones. I'm going to start with the outside and just going to work my way in. If you want, you can always rest your elbow on the table if that helps. Make sure to kind of keep that line going until it's out of paint. If your black paint seems to be getting too dry, just add water to it. Tap it on the paper towel 5 or 6 times, and then you can kind of go back to your paint again. Be sure to pat it on your paper towel at least 5 or 6 times so it doesn't have too much water on there. But black tends to dry really fast. So I'm pretty much covering all the pencil lines. Now I can go down here. I'm gonna work on the strings that are falling. Between each bead, I don't want to cover my beads. I think that's about it, right? And before my black dries, I am going to go in there and add a little bit of white to my small brush, maybe pat some off. And you can go in there and maybe just add some sweeps of white kind of throughout. If you want to thicken out your black so you can see the white a little bit more, you can push a little bit harder on your brush. Put a little bit of white and just kind of some sweeps here and there. You can add water to your brush, tap it on your paper towel at least 5 or 6 times. Just a little bit of light moving through. Just white. If you got too dark, you can add more white. If you got too light, you can add more black later, but just some quick little sweeps of white. Show where the light is hitting. You can even come down here. Some down here if you want. If it got gray, you can let that gray dry and you can go back to adding more black and white on top. But if you like the gray in there and it works, that's awesome. All right. Once you are done with your line work up here, you can let it dry for a while. And we are going to start outlining our feathers in black. So be sure they're pretty dry. Again, a lot of like just fast, sweepy movements. You don't want them to be perfectly outlined. Same idea, the harder you push, the thicker the line becomes. I want to show you this purple one really quick. Black paint only, small brush. I'm just going to go in there and sweep some bits of black here and there for an outline. A little bit of black, and I'm going to make a line with a little bit of a curve on it. Kind of goes down that way. And then you can add some lines going down that follows your colors as well. So there's that first feather. Same idea, just a little bit of black. I'm following the shape of my feather. Oh, got a little bit dry. You can go inside the feather, you can go on the outside of the feather. Doesn't have to be perfectly outlined. And again, I'm just kind of splitting in the middle with a little bit of a curvy line. And then I'm coming down some sweeps of black. Same idea in the next one. I'm going to go in there and outline the shape. It doesn't have to be a perfect outline, just little sweeps here and there. My brush gets really dry with black. So I'm gonna add some black. Go in there and sweeps. Make a line in the middle with a little bit of a curve. Sweep some lines down on either side. Make a line in the middle. Some sweeps on the left, sweeps on the right. Together and make your feathers. Go in there and just kind of clean up some of these areas. And if you feel like your black line's got too thick in some areas, you can let your black dry. You can maybe sweep some white on top of them or some colors. Go in there, just touch up some of the areas. Maybe make these a little bit thicker. And there is one more step, but before we do that step, if you want to go back and kind of clean anything up, mess with your colors, mess with your line work, give anything another coat, just be aware of what color is blending together. It's always kind of good to go back and kind of clean things up if you need to. I'm going to go back and give those beads another coat too. I think those will look a little bit better with another coat right now. So I'm going to go in there and add more white. It's absolutely up to you at this point. If you want to add more color, add another coat to anything. the last thing we are going to do is we are going to add some really cool dots on the outside areas of our feathers, and you can kind of go about this however you want with whatever colors, but the main idea is taking the back part of your small brush, so the back part, dipping it, for instance, the first one I did was yellow, and I'm going to push less and less so my dots get smaller. So I'm going to push a little bit harder at the point, and then I'm going to push a little bit less and less the yellow. And then if I want to continue to use yellow somewhere else, I can use the back of that brush, the yellow, but whenever I'm ready to move on to a different color, I can wipe off the back, and let's say I wanted to do some green. So I'm going to use the clean part, the clean back of my small brush. Again, pushing harder and then a little bit less. Pushing harder and a little bit less. So they go from large to small. Wipe off the back. I'm going to use some pink, maybe make some pink down here. Large, smaller. Clean off the back. Maybe add some white. Come up here, large to small. Here, large to small. So cute. Alright, artists, there you have it. There is your super cool dream catcher painting. I hope you had fun. Thank you so much for tagging along. Thank you so much for all of your support from Young at Art.